fundamental principle of the U.S. military and the Great Republic of the United States of America is that America needs a politically neutral military, period, hard stop, foundation of stability. But when commentators and politicians start telling the troops that obedience is dangerous and disobedience is patriotic, that's not protecting the Constitution any longer. That's redefining it. But now the blueprint's out. It's been found. Don't give up the ship. You can refuse illegal orders. Oh, we found it. Word for word. Trump, be on alert. Because once you see what I'm about to read to you, show you, you can't unsee it. Because they have a plan for him, according to the blueprint itself. And it's not something that President Trump, Pete Hegseth, or the administration is going to want to hear. And that's a story I'll bring you in just a few seconds. There's indicators everywhere right now. Secretary of Defense mess, walls closing in, Admiral spinning kill shot, a leak. There's leaks everywhere now, isn't there, magically? Hegseth pushed out brass, Pentagon knew. Why are they doing this right now? There's a looming battle with Venezuela. We have the Russia-Ukraine mess. We have messes everywhere. Progress here in the Great Republic of the United States of America. Of course, it appears everybody wants to distract from that. I wonder why. Then out comes the you can refuse illegal orders. What did Mark Kelly say? A detailed look at his statements in the growing national debate. Do you think he wrote that? He prepared that? Come on now. Some may have. Until we found the blueprint. Word for word, point for point. I'm going to compare the two for you. Identical match. And how it ends. What it outlines. I promise you, you can't unsee. But first, just a bit of housekeeping.
In February of this year, we asked for all the states for the first time to turn over their data to the federal government, to let the USDA partner with them to root out this fraud, to make sure that those who really need food stamps are getting them, but also to ensure that the American taxpayer is protected. 21 states said yes, not surprised. 29 states said yes, not surprisingly, the red states, and that's where all of that data, that fraud comes from. But 21 states, including California, New York, and Minnesota, the blue states, continue to say no. So as of next week, we have begun and will begin to stop moving federal funds into those states until they comply and they tell us and allow us to partner with them to root out this fraud and to protect the American taxpayer.
And everybody goes crazy. Simple concept, right? No data, no money. You don't provide us your data, you don't get SNAP administrative funding. That's controversial. Shockingly, it is, because they don't want accountability. They've never have wanted accountability. They just want your and my tax dollars to flow freely to whatever program they so desire. And when accountability is requested, everyone goes psychotic. The Washington Post, Trump administration will block SNAP management funds for blue states. How dare they? Kathy Hochul, genuine question, why is the Trump administration so hell-bent on people going hungry? They're not hell-bent on people going hungry. They're hell-bent on assuring our tax dollars are spent appropriately to the people who actually need the funding. So much so, House Democrats come out. Yes, yet again, Trump and Rollins are illegally threatening to withhold federal dollars. How is that illegal? Accountability is illegal, according to the Democrats. SNAP has one of the lowest fraud rates of any government program, but Trump continues to weaponize hunger. Elon Musk even entering the argument. The scale of fraud is staggering. Waste, fraud, and abuse. Isn't that what we're focused on? What do you think? Do you think you should have to provide data to where those benefits are going in order to get federal funding, that would make logical sense to everyone. Well, of course, except the Democrats. In other news, Jack Smith subpoenaed for deposition with House Judiciary Committee. It's going to be so nice to see if this man actually does finally get his day in court, that he finally has to answer for what he's done. Subpoena includes sweeping demand for all documents and communication from Smith's time as special counsel. And do you actually think we're going to get all those documents? They'll probably end up in another set of burn bags. Burn bags and boneheads. And the bonehead of the day goes to this man, who you may not be familiar with yet, but you're about to be. Before we get to the primary story, the story that you won't be able to unsee ever again. Because The Atlantic wrote an article, we'll get back to the bonehead, don't worry, that wrote the blueprint for the Refuse Illegal Orders video, but it's not only a direct comparison, line by line, very easy for me to diagram for you, but when you read the article, you have a lot of other concerns of things to come. Because remember, when the Democrats are cornered, they will stop at nothing to get what they want. And obviously, they're feeling really pinned in right now on multiple fronts. They even outline what those fronts are. And then you'll come to understand why desperation is extremely dangerous. I want to thank you all again for making all these videos successful. It comes only because of you. Yes, my efforts create the videos, but you support the videos by doing what? By making sure your bell is checked to all, by providing a comment, by answering my pinned comment, by sharing the video. And that costs absolutely nothing to do. And some of you don't have the means. That's fine. Those maneuvers help the algorithm know that this channel matters. And so the news grows. And that's because of you. Now, others of you have a little bit more means, and you've joined as members, and that also helps keep these lights and cameras on. And some of you even take the further step to go to Restrict the Republic, our news platform Lisa Haven and I created. I hope you've gone to her channel and subscribed to her. She still posts every single day, even though some people don't want you to know that she does that for whatever reason. But there, her and I, my beautiful wife, post every day, not only every single video we put on every platform, but our exclusive content. As you know, 4 days a week, I go ahead and continue my podcast over there to its full-length version. And I cannot thank all of you who have moved over and joined me there. The platform has exploded because now you know what real news was meant to sound like. Thank you all for going there. I also want to thank my sponsor, which is Chapter, and they have been swamped because of so many of you calling. And thank you for listening, because it's Medicare annual enrollment period. It started October 15th. It ends December 7th. Time is running out. Now, they can help you any time of year, but right now, I'm sure you've been bombarded by robocallers, mailers. Everyone's pushing for what exactly? Well, most companies are pushing for what's best for them. That is not what Chapter does. They push what's best for you. It's a free phone call. It's 805-619-5011. 805-619-5011. You're going to talk to a live person. What do they do? Well, they have built a system that finds all the plans in your areas in under 20 minutes. Tells you what packages are available to you, because every year plans change. Some simply go away. If you don't check, you may lose your doctors, or more importantly, you're going to end up overpaying. And most agents, again, they try to steer you to a plan that makes the best sense to them, not the best sense to you. What's been great about Chapter, and I see it in all the reviews that people write back to me, is that if you have the best plan, they'll tell you you have the best plan. And you go about and have a great day. Because the average person who calls Chapter saves $1,100 a year. Don't wait till the last minute. They've been extremely busy because this has been so successful. Call them today, 805-619-5011. Put some money back in your pocket. Get it done before the end of the year, because those kids and those grandkids are going to need your attention. So get this one out of the way and let Chapter do all the heavy lifting for you. Again, 805-619-5011. Call them right now. But now, let's get back to this broadcast. So back to the bonehead of the week. Do so enjoy doing this. Did you hear what Minnesota Police Chief Brian O'Hara had to say? Just look at that leather jacket, man. He's tough, right? He's a tough guy. Well, he has some words to the citizens of Minneapolis of what they should do when ICE shows up.
Folks that are masked, that they're not sure if they're law enforcement, that they may be kidnapping people. Like, we have had those reports. I want to be clear to the community. The community should know that if you see something like that, that is legitimate, that you don't know if someone is law enforcement, you should call 911. And you should provide as much information as possible, because let's not forget, we very recently had tragedy in this state by someone who was purporting to be law enforcement. So please, let's be clear. That's something everyone should report, and that we will immediately respond to, and we will document. Whether it's somebody's not sure if there's a kidnapping happening, somebody's not sure if that there's law enforcement present or not, and that's something else. That's additional policy requirements that we are implementing, that we will document and report these types of things anytime that we hear it, and reminding our officers of their duty to intervene. So if there is anything that is, a violation of someone's human rights or civil rights, excessive force or anything like that, they absolutely have a duty to intervene as police officers.
Wow, big words. Immediately respond and intervene. Interfering with immigration enforcement is a crime, mind you. But it doesn't appear to matter to him. But don't worry, it matters to Tom Homan, who has something to say on this, before we listen to the mayor of Minneapolis, who has something to say on it also.
I mean, your number one responsibility is the safety and security of your communities. And ICE is targeting criminals. Criminals. So for you not to partner with ICE to make your community safer is shameful. He ought to put his badge in the desk drawer and walk away, because he stopped being a cop, become a politician.
And isn't that the case, huh? He stopped being a cop and became a politician. That's happening across the country right now. But Minnesota Mayor Jacob Frey, he had something to say to the community. Part of it I was able to understand.
That's not American. That's not what we are about. And we're going to do right by every single person in our cities. And so, to our Somali community, Daman Shabka, Somalied Kunul, Minnesota Garahan, Minneapolis, Waan Ku Janilahai, Waan Ku Gereb Taganahan.
Sometimes less is more, and I'm just going to leave it with less is more on that prior clip. Pramila Jayapal introduces legislation to end inhumane immigration detention conditions. Her announcement.
We are here today to say enough. Our Dignity for Detained Immigrants Act has a remarkable, unprecedented 123 original co-sponsors. Before we've even introduced it, 123 co-sponsors, and it overhauls the detention system. It drastically scales back the use of detention. It ensures that every single immigrant who is in detention has their human and civil rights protected.
I just wonder when congressional members will actually worry about the rights of we the people. Seems to be the last of their concerns. Her bill repeals mandatory detention, prohibits the detention of families and children in family detention, creates a presumption of release and imposes a higher burden of proof to detain primary caregivers and vulnerable populations, including pregnant women, survivors of torture, gender-based violence, people with serious mental or physical illness or disabilities, LGBTQ individuals, asylum seekers, and people over the age of 60. I know. Phases out the use of private detention facilities and jails over a 3-year period. Requires DHS to establish a civil detention standard that provide at minimum the level of protection in American Bar Association civil immigration detention standards. Requires DHS to admit members of Congress to detention facilities for unannounced inspections and mandate the DHS Inspector General to conduct unannounced inspections with meaningful penalties for failure to comply with standards. Basically dismantling the DHS entirely and all their efforts. 123 Democrat co-sponsors automatically.
They are being tarnished in the media while they didn't do anything. No one should be detained for immigration enforcement. No one.
That he put it perfectly. Mahmoud Khalil. No one should be detained for immigration enforcement. Period. That was his words, not mine. Just trying to connect the dots, folks. It's easy when you have a background and you study every single element of these stories, just like our primary story. You remember Signalgate, right? Suddenly all these stories popping up. Pentagon watchdog says Hegseth signal chat puts troops at risk. CBS News comes out. Pentagon watchdog finds Hegseth signal chat violated regulations, could have endangered troops. AP suddenly comes out. Pentagon watchdog find Hegseth's use of signal pose risk to U.S. personnel. CNN comes out. Watchdog finds out by sharing sensitive war plans on signal Hegseth risked endangering troops. How did they all get this information suddenly? You know, Pete Hegseth is now public enemy number one. Wall Street Journal. Hegseth brought his wife to sensitive meetings with foreign military officials. Everybody's got the scoop. In an effort to own Secretary of War Pete Hegseth over Signalgate, looks like Democrat Mark Kelly leaked classified information to the Wall Street Journal. Last I checked, leaking classified info was bad. Will Senator Kelly face any consequences? How does and why does he state that? Well, if you go into the article, a Pentagon watchdog has found Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth violated, let me get rid of that real quick, sorry, put that away, some of the department's regulations when he shared sensitive information from his cell phone on Signal earlier this year, according to Senator Mark Kelly. Later in the article, according to 4 sources familiar with contents of a classified Inspector General report. Classified. They all got the headline on Pete Hegseth. Convenient when they're all attacking Pete Hegseth, huh? Sean Parnell, assistant, comes out. Inspector General review is totally exoneration of Secretary Hegseth and proves what we knew all along. No classified information was shared. Pete Hegseth, no classified information. Total exoneration. A lot declaring they're investigating themselves and calling themselves innocent. I look at the bigger picture. Why is Signalgate rising up again? Why did all those publications suddenly get classified intel? How does it relate to our primary story? And why, suddenly, with all these boats being struck, is this effort underway? And when I hear statements like Democrat Jack Reed makes, I just want you to listen here. Listen to his ending statement and tell me if this makes sense to you.
You know, one of the factors that drives use in the United States is demand. And most narco traffickers are not in those boats. They pay people to do that. And usually people who are not significantly involved with narco trading, it's the way they make money. Mm-hmm.
Usually people talking about the boats are not significantly involved in narco trade. It's just the way they make money. So it's okay? Has the world gone psychotic? These are their words, not mine. I'm not making anything up. I don't have to. They give me the sound bites. I just put them together for you. Pete Hegseth Signalgate, to the headlines, to the classified intel, to the clips of all them stating the most insane things in the world. And I'll play 2 other clips at the very end that you have to hear that will tie this all together for you, because this you can refuse illegal orders to this Atlantic article. The civil military crisis is here, published on October 7th, 2025. Are you ready? Because we have a lot to discuss. Because this really kind of outlined a blueprint. You think indirectly? Oh, no. Trump may be tempted to issue orders to military that will be aimed at suppressing dissent or disrupting elections or detaining political figures. He has already floated the idea of invoking the Insurrection Act, which could enable such actions. This is in the article. The article written by, mind you, and this will become important here in a moment, Tom Nichols, which could enable such actions. He may even become desperate enough to launch a foreign war, as he seems to be trying to do right now with Venezuela. So what is the concerns here? Suppressing dissent, detaining political figures, invoking the Insurrection Act, and launching a battle against Venezuela, which ties into the narco-terrorists, which ties into what Pete Hegseth is doing. And who are they attacking right now is Pete Hegseth. You see how everything always tends to just go together. I'm going to read the narrative here for you in a moment, but I'll let you look at this chart while I am, because on the left is the Atlantic article, on the right is the seditious 6 messaging. And as you'll soon see, there is a direct correlation between the two. So let me walk you through this, because I had to prepare this. Because again, sleep seems to be optional in my life. Because the Atlantic really didn't want me to outline this for you. They just wanted you to skim past it and miss it. That ain't going to happen. Tom Nichols, one of the most senior alarmists. As a matter of fact, I'll even show you who Tom Nichols is so you understand. Tom M. Nichols, part of the Carnegie Council for Ethics in International Affairs. An expert, let's say, professor emeritus of national security affairs at the United States Naval War College. 5-time undefeated Jeopardy champion, smart man. Really heavily vested in Russian studies. A man who is one of the proponents of Russia. Not a fan of President Trump. Just wanted to give you the bias before we go back to the story. So now you got a preview of who Tom Nichols is, one of their senior alarmists of the Atlantic. So he drops an article prior to the Seditious 6 video, so perfectly aligned with the messaging behind the now viral, as we call it, video. This might as well have been the storyboard, or as I called it, the blueprint. And the message, don't give up the ship. Except this time, let's rephrase the ship as the U.S. military. And there's a storm brewing, which is President Trump. The same president who hasn't given a single illegal order, important point, hasn't deployed troops into chaos, and hasn't started any wars. But apparently, the military must now embrace itself for the apocalypse. Folks, this article reads like the handbook for what some would term selective disobedience, or selective obedience, depending on what side you're on. And let me break down why. Let's do the emotional setup. Remember, I am the psychology behind politics, and this is all psychology. So Nichols sets up the blueprint. Portrays Trump as an authoritarian so extreme that the normal constitutional chain of command becomes dangerous. Nichols claims Trump is seizing the intelligence agencies, purging the justice system, and detaching them from the Constitution. Drama level, Broadway level. But here's the trick. If you want to convince military members to start thinking about resisting orders, you must first convince them that their commander-in-chief isn't legitimate. This is step one in every loyalty realignment campaign ever recorded. Declare a crisis, declare a villain, declare the military the last barrier. And wait till I play the last 2 videos for you, because you'll see they're continuing this right now. And sure enough, Nichols positions the armed forces as the only institution not yet captured by Trump. Specifically, I'll show you the parts of the article. That framing alone is the seed to don't give up the ship message. As a matter of fact, let's just jump into that, because I don't want to skip this, because it's important you see these parts of the article, as a matter of fact. This is why America's senior military officers, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane must approach Trump now and make clear to him that they will not obey illegal orders to act against American citizens or disrupt the American political process. They should not bother talking to Hegseth. Congress hasn't been able to restrain Trump. Senior military officials warned Trump away from leading America into a full-blown military confrontation. They're the last people standing. They're the last resistance. That's his article, framing in my statements. The last line of defense. Nichols writes the military is the final holdout and implies the military members must be prepared to act if Trump crosses the line. Translation, your last defense, act accordingly. This is the exact emotional structure used in the same video of Don't Give Up the Ship. The exact emotional structure. You're the last line between the Constitution and the president. What has Mark Kelly been saying? You're loyal to the Constitution, not to one man, not to the president. It's stirring, cinematic, and completely detached from the real world, but it serves a purpose. It primes the military to see themselves as political guardians, not warfighters. And once the frame's in place, the next step is obvious. A narrative like this can't stand on facts. So Nichols leans heavily into hypotheticals because he has to, because there's no factual basis to this right now. There has been no illegal orders, remember that. So he has to go hypothetical. Trump may suppress dissent in his article. Trump may detain political rivals. Trump may misuse the Insurrection Act. Trump may start a war to distract from politics. Trump may ignore court rulings. Notice the pattern? May. Nothing's happened. But Nichols insists you must prepare for it, even though it hasn't happened. This is exactly what Don't Give Up the Ship did, and the same argument that they make. Fear-based speculation becomes the justification for future action. Here's where the blueprint becomes unmistakable. Approach Trump now and make clear that you will not obey illegal orders. I just read that segment to you. The problem? There are no illegal orders. None. Zero. Zip. This is a preemptive call to organize resistance before anything happens. What else would it be? And this lines up perfectly with the same video. Prepare to refuse now, don't wait. This reframes loyalty as resistance and obedience as potential treason. The inversion is the beating heart of Don't Give Up the Ship message. But here's the part they don't want you to notice. To convince the military to resist Trump, they first have to redefine what loyalty even means. And this article does exactly that. Nichols constructs a new way of overriding the elected president in some ways. Judges, senior officers, media commentators, concerned citizens, and finally the military. The structure, subtly, encourages troops to treat political commentary as a higher authority than the president. Exact same messaging in the Seditious 6 video. Claim the president is compromised. Claim the Constitution's under threat. Claim you, the service member, must interpret the Constitution. Offer a parallel authority structure to guide you. This is how you shift loyalty away from the commander-in-chief without ever saying the word resist. How this messaging works. The Atlantic article is not simple commentary. It is a narrative infrastructure. It builds emotional framework, crisis framework, hypothetical justification, moral pressure, alternative hierarchy, and preemptive call to act. That's what political messaging ecosystems are built from. I told you the man's very smart. And when the Seditious 6 video pops up telling service members don't give up the ship, the message matched the architecture point by point. No coordination at all necessary. No shared goals, shared narratives, shared fears. That's how modern political activism works. And let me show you this. Left side Atlantic, right side Seditious 6 video. sees agencies detaching from the Constitution. These are quotes within both. Commander-in-chief is acting unlawfully. Military's last line of defense. Only the military can remain outside Trump's grip. Military must defend democracy. Trump may misuse military power. Trump will give illegal orders. Court may be ignored. Officers must prepare to refuse. Do not obey illegal orders. Do not give up the ship. Judges, senior officers, public pressures, serve Constitution. Warn Trump now not to issue commands. Prepare in advance to refuse orders. Trump framed as authoritarian, Trump framed as illegitimate. Military last line of defense, military equals safeguard. Hypothetical future abuses, hypothetical future abuses. Redefinition of obedience. Obedience treated as risky. Preemptive resistance, preemptive resistance. I could give you chart after chart after chart, but I don't want to waste too much of your time. I just hope this is resonating. America needs a politically neutral military. That's the foundation of our stability, always has been. But when commentators start telling the troops that obedience is dangerous and disobedience is patriotic, then that's not protecting the Constitution any longer, or we the people. That's redefining everything. And once you see the blueprint that I just showed you, you can't unsee it anymore. Did our military members swear an oath to the Constitution? Absolutely. It's the backbone to the entire system. The president gets his authority from the Constitution. Everybody knows that. That's not the point. It never has been. Because the same people who are claiming that the Constitution is the overriding authority are disregarding that the president has any authority. So then how do you believe in the Constitution? You can't have one without the other. And that's my problem with the argument. If he had given illegal orders, fine. Then we can have the argument and the discussion. But that's not what you're doing, is it?
Go after Mark Kelly if he's telling soldiers you don't have to follow an unlawful order, and they don't, is if you intend to carry out unlawful orders, right? Like if you don't intend to carry out unlawful orders, why do you care that somebody would say that? So you just told on yourself by making this a thing.
Who told on whom exactly? Who told on whom? You told on yourself, because Mark Warner gives it away specifically.
Unprecedented disrespect when they were all brought to get a pep rally in front of Hegseth and Trump. This is an administration that's fired, uniform generals from the head of the NSA, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Mm-hmm. And I think in many ways, the uniform military may help save us from this president and his lame people like Hegseth.
I think the uniformed military may help save us from this president. I rest my case. Sometimes you love doing this job. Sometimes it's psychological torture. Because you get these arguments, you prepare these arguments, you research for hours, folks. And I'm not patting myself on the back. That's not the sort of guy I am. But I work really hard to frame this stuff in. I just don't read talking points and sound bites. I hope you see that by now. I hope you respect that. By the way the channel is growing, I believe you do. By the support you give me, I know you do. So I dig deep. Hours on top of hours on top of hours of writing this stuff, preparing it for you. And then a clip like that comes out. And you'd think I'd be like, yeah, that's what I needed. No. It literally breaks my heart. Because it validates something that no one wants validated. But it's there. I think the uniformed military may help save us from this president who is not given an illegal order. Save us from what? Something you disagree with that isn't even against the Constitution. So in essence, what do you actually disagree with? Just asking for a friend. And I'll put it as the pinned comment. What do you truly believe the Democrats disagree with? President Trump or the Constitution? Think about that for a moment. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight. Signing out.